I don't know what to do. I don't know, but I might back to me. 107.5 The King.
Seven, I think, probably. So he's on the live stream.
Yeah, I'm here. You got me?
Well, that was fun. That was very enjoyable last night. We should have all had a good time. Celebrated into the late hours of the night for Patrick Brett, who's up in Nashville. The relatively late hours, an hour earlier than all of us. He's now paying the price for it. It's 5:03 a.m. in Nashville. It's 6:03 here in the home of your women's national champions, South Carolina last night. Cruises past Connecticut a few times during the game. We thought, maybe it'll get a little interesting. Maybe Connecticut will make a game of it. But every time that happened, I don't know, Patrick. I don't know, Jen. It must have just been destiny. I worked on that all night. Yes.
That was solid.
64-49, South Carolina finishes the season 35-2, but most importantly, they finished the season as the national champions. And it was a fun game to watch. It was fun to see the smiles on the girls' faces last night for Aaliyah Boston to talk about last year, the lasting image of her crying tears of sadness following a miss put back against Stanford. But last night, tears of joy as, again, South Carolina claims its second national championship under Dawn Staley in a game that Patrick, they jumped out to a big lead early on, and then just, again, Connecticut cut it to within 6 at one point and got a rebound and had a chance to get it Paige Beckers to maybe get a little bit closer, but there was a turnover, and South Carolina did what they did all night. They then made some shots, played some defense, and they ended up winning 64-49 last night for, again, that second national championship behind Destiny Henderson's 26 points last night, a game high, a career high 26. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was. You did hit the nail on the head, though. Every time Connecticut making a run, it was Destiny Henderson that would make a play and just kind of put it even more out of reach. Anytime we got to single digits, she'd just make a play and extend the lead. So it was probably the most comfortable you'll ever be as a fan watching a national championship game. In hindsight, I don't know if you wish that it was closer, but it was just, you were just cruising. You could take a break and walk out of the room. You weren't stuck on the edge of your seat the entire time because they were just comfortable and dominant the entire time, and everybody pretty much played well. I mean, Destiny Henderson was obviously the star of the game. I guess it's the Final Four player of the week, of the MVP, right, Bill? It's not just the championship game, because she was clearly the MVP last night.
Yeah, I mean, in last night's game, she was absolutely phenomenal. A lot of talk had been about her shooting and what she could and couldn't do, but last night, 9 of 20 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3-point range, 5 of 6 from the foul line. Was steady with the basketball, 4 assists, just 2 turnovers, and scored again the career high 26 points and a game high for everybody. 26 points. Aaliyah Boston was obviously fantastic again, 11 points and 16 rebounds. But you could tell Gino Auriemma, Connecticut, went in with a pretty good plan how to try and limit her offensively. And it just turned out, when you recruit, 10 McDonald's All-Americans, typically if you shut one down, another one might pop up somewhere and end up. That's exactly what happened last night. And I'm with you. As far as a game MVP, it would have been Destiny Henderson. Obviously, a tournament MVP goes to Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, so I don't know what the main takeaway is. Dawn is now, reached rare air, and this program is in rare air now as a multi-time champion. You've already established yourself as one of the best, and you've gone ahead and confirmed it with the second championship now and done it in comfortable fashion. And really, kind of this whole team's going to come back next year. Destiny Henderson's going to move on to the WNBA, and she'll be a pretty high draft pick coming up here in a couple of weeks, and you're going to run it back with the same crew. And I guess Zia Cook will come in and take over as the point guard now and get a bigger role for herself. But just a fun, honestly, stress-free night, which I absolutely did not expect.
803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning if you want to weigh in. We got a new text system. I'm not going to even try and pretend like we've got this thing figured out just yet. So today will be the first day with this, but you can text us. I'll get logged in here in a minute and see how it works. 803-404-6100. Still the way to get in touch with us that way. You can always hop on the Buford Lending live stream to join us there, as several people have already jumped up, excited to wake up as national champions. Robin, Jerry, RL, Joseph, everybody jumping in this morning. Scott, welcome in. David, DC, Anthony. Anthony saying, great morning, everyone. Got a natty for my girls and a Duke loss for my birthday today. And yes, Patrick, that's the other story of the weekend. I'm guessing the career of Mike Krzyzewski has come to a conclusion. Yes, you picked Duke to win the national championship, but I have a feeling you are very happy to see it play out in the way it did yesterday.
Oh, it was so fun. It was so electric, and just I mean, it truly was the perfect weekend in hindsight. The Duke loss, Coach K in his final season, farewell season, loses the two of the biggest games in college basketball history. Coach K's last game in Cameron, the most expensive college ticket in the history of the sport, one of the most expensive tickets in the history of sport, and they just get whooped at home, and then they get a chance for revenge and all the storylines and the revenge angle against UNC, first time they've ever met in the tournament, nonetheless the Final Four, and a chance to go in and play Kansas, who beat him in his first national title, and a Kansas team that looked pretty dominant and comfortable in their Final Four game on Saturday as well. And North Carolina just put an end to it. It was an absolutely beautiful thing. North Carolina was awesome down the stretch. Caleb Love was so clutch at the end, so comfortable at the free throw line and composed. And it was such a fun night. I was at a bar down here in Nashville, and I think it was 90% UNC fans.
Was it? I was going to ask if you were out and about what the kind of the feeling was at a bar. We watched it. Austin had a soccer game on Saturday, so we got back to the house and grilled some salmon and did some stuff like that, and ended up watching it from the house, where we were just pulling for a good game. Yeah, we wanted to see a really good game, and that's pretty much what you got on Saturday evening. As you just mentioned, the Kansas Villanova game, kind of as I suspected. Without Justin Moore, you felt like it was going to be really tough, Patrick, for Villanova to keep up for a full 40 minutes, and I thought they fought hard, and I thought that they gave themselves opportunities. But just this is a good Kansas team that I guess is under the radar, or do I just expect Kansas to choke at some point consistently? I just don't know if I ever viewed Kansas all season long as a national champion contender. We talked about Duke obviously a lot. Gonzaga was always a number one. Baylor was up there a good bit. Auburn was a team that got to number one at one point. So you had all those different teams, but it felt like we always put Kansas on the back burner, or put Kansas in the corner and never gave them to consideration. Were we just wrong on that, or is that just a me thing that I did?
No, I think we just talked about it during the season, and there was a large group of teams that were genuine contenders. I mean, there was probably 10 teams that we felt like could legitimately win the championship this year, and now one of the teams in the Final Four is an 8 seed. I mean, Kansas was the lowest seeded of the 1 seeds, I believe. So that's not a huge surprise that they kind of flew under the radar. Gonzaga is always a storyline because they've never won it and are always number one, it seems like. And obviously the Duke storyline has overshadowed pretty much everything. So we were never going to come into this weekend talking about Kansas all that much. But if they win the championship now, will we start looking back at them and saying, we should have probably noticed this one? I mean, they do have a Naismith candidate. They are an older team. I don't know that they're like, we're not going to talk about them as this is one of the greatest teams of the era or anything like that. They're just a solid team in a year where there's a lot of parity, and really anyone could have won it, I think.
So we'll talk about that obviously today as well. The weekend that was Duke and North Carolina certainly deserves a little bit more discussion just in looking back at that game. So not only will we talk women's national championship, but we'll talk Duke, North Carolina, as well as tonight's Kansas, North Carolina game. I will say Patrick, I love the blue blood story here. Two big name programs, the battle for Roy Williams, I guess, is he'll be on hand there. We've seen him at the Final Four cheering on his former team and his disciple there in our Herbert Davis. Is it Hubert? Why you've confused me now so much when
Hubert.
I felt confident until I went to say it. Hubert Davis tonight against Bill Self. There's a part of, I think, all of us that would like to see Mark Emmert have to hand over the national championship trophy to Bill Self, maybe with Will Wade and Sean Miller standing behind him, guys who are no longer employed by the schools they got in trouble with. But we'll get into that. Also happening over the weekend, Patrick, South Carolina, they start the series against Missouri well, and then they lose 2 of 3 in Columbia, Missouri. And I don't know if there's anybody out there. We're not going to try and be Debbie Downer this morning because there's a lot of good things to talk about, but I don't know if there's anybody right now who just feels good about South Carolina baseball and not only the direction of this season, but maybe the direction of the program.
No, how could you? And honestly, if they had won the series this weekend, would it have changed all that much of people's opinion? I don't know. Congratulations, they got their first road win of the year, but they got walked off, and then once again in the rubber match just got completely handled. I really don't see a comeback here. I mean, maybe they play a good game against Charlotte. Maybe they get back home this weekend and take the series against Georgia, and people say, "Oh, look, you beat another good team." But no, it will be fool's gold if and when that happens. So they're just not a very good baseball team this year. They're middle of the road baseball team, really is what they are. They're not terrible, but when you talk about the standards of South Carolina baseball, this team's not even close to sniffing them. And we're in mid-April now. I mean, it's not early in the season anymore. You've now got a losing record in April. I don't know how often that happens or when the last time that happened is, but 13 and 14 with 3 midweek losses is pretty poor, and it's going to get maybe slightly easier because you've already played 3 of the best teams on your schedule, but it's going to get marginally easier, and all of these teams on the schedule are capable of beating South Carolina at this point. So, yeah, it's hard to find the positive spin.
So we will maybe try to avoid that one as best we can. Today is a lot more positive things. More positive things from the weekend. South Carolina lands a football commitment out of the transfer portal. Corey Rucker, a wide receiver from Arkansas State who has 3 years of eligibility remaining, announced over the weekend that he will transfer to South Carolina. He puts the Gamecocks over Auburn and Mississippi, amongst others. A kid who did some really big things. So, again, he will have 3 years to play for South Carolina. And I'll get you his stats here in just a minute. He had a pretty good season this past year and certainly is a guy that South Carolina will now, again, Patrick, look to continue to bolster that wide receiving group. It's an interesting thing with South Carolina's wide receivers because Juice Wells is drawing a lot of attention, but he comes from James Madison. And I feel like, we've hyped up these transfer wide receivers before and said, oh, they're going to come in and make an impact. And while statistically speaking, Juice Wells and now Corey Rucker all look like they look like guys who could come in and help, I think we're all hesitant, right, to start just saying, oh, this wide receiving group is going to be absolutely phenomenal. It's a wait and see approach, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's not even like this is new that we've had options, because it feels like every year we circle 5 names and say, oh, one of these guys is going to be the one to take the step up. But you have more players that have proven it at least the collegiate level rather than the high school level. And it's not like you need Corey Rucker to come in here and South Carolina is relying on him to come in and be a 1,000-yard receiver. Like that's not something that is going to be necessary. Your best receivers are going to be Josh Vann, who returns, and you know what to expect with him now, and then your pair of tight ends. So really, you just need 1 or 2 guys to be able to step up, and if it's guys that do different type of things, like if it's a EJ Jenkins coming out there for a couple plays and being a goal line receiver or a contested catch guy, if it's Amarion Brown coming in to try and take the top off the defense, or if it's Corey Rucker and Juice Wells that can establish themselves as sort of every down do-it-all receivers, then you're just it's a bonus at this point. You'll be happy whatever they can contribute, and you just want to have more bodies out there, more talented bodies that have proved at this level. So I'm not going to try and put the negative spin on it right away, but yeah, I'm not going to expect the world from him, but you do expect him to contribute a little bit, and if he can, then it's all just kind of house money at this point.
Last season at Arkansas State, Rucker, who is 6 foot, 205 pounds, last season he caught 59 passes, 816 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He'll come to South Carolina with 75 career receptions and 14 touchdowns to go along with 1,269 yards in his career. So Rucker has done it, but it's been at Arkansas State. And you make a good point because, the guy that we have not talked about or completely forgotten about is EJ Jenkins. And you bring him up, and that's a guy that, Patrick, we've almost completely forgotten about, is a piece that could be used here when you talk about wide receivers or tight ends, or how maybe he fits in with Spencer Rattler and how the offense utilizes a guy like Jenkins. So that's a great point. As a year ago, a lot of people talking, 6'7", 6'8", 240. Oh, the next Kyle Pitts. And now you kind of look at him and go, okay, where does he fit in when you talk about Van and Wells, and throw a Marion Brown in there as well? And, Landon Sampson's coming in, and now you've got Corey Rucker. That's a good point on EJ Jenkins.
Yeah, it's just another body. And then we didn't even mention Landon Sampson in that rant, and he could be your other slot guy. It's just, you're going to have lots of options. So it's, again, all going to come up to Marcus Satterfield. How's he going to use them? Is he going to try and just continue to use the same personnel and fit square pegs into round holes, or is he going to try and have a bunch of different personnel groupings for different situations? And it does kind of make me nervous in the sense that you could risk being predictable. If you come out there with the 2 tight ends and EJ Jenkins and Landon Sampson, then they're going to expect one thing, versus if you come out there with a Marion Brown, then they'll just play with a deep safety or something because they know that you're going to try and throw it over the top. Like, there is potential for being predictable, but honestly, more options is never really going to be a bad thing.
So a lot to talk about this morning. If you want to talk about the women's national championship basketball game, certainly we will get you some audio of that and talk about that this morning. I believe at 8:30, Debbie Antonelli will join us to talk about that. Yesterday I was texting with Debbie, and I asked her if she would do 7:30 this morning, but she's in the Central time zone right now. And so she just responded, like, can we do any later? And so I said, is 8:30 work? And I never heard back. I don't know if that was a yes or a no, or I wasn't real sure what the answer was on that. But I believe we're expecting Debbie Antonelli at 8:30 this morning to talk about last night's game. Also this morning, 8:05, CBS Sports, Michael Boland will join us to talk about tonight's game between Kansas and North Carolina. So we will get to plenty of basketball coverage this morning. Again, if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning. Again, we got a new text system. It works. Like Todd has weighed in here on the text message system. He says, looks like my sleeper, North Carolina, is starting to wake up. Gene weighing in this morning on our text system. And this was a good one. Shout out to the coach who helped the players cut down the net last night. He had his hands full. Did you guys catch that with net cutting coach there directing how to precisely cut the net down?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay. Yeah. That
was a South Carolina coach, or was someone that worked for
No, it was a South Carolina coach. And there was clearly a way that South Carolina the players were going to be told to cut down the net. We might have to just get a little bit of background on that at some point, because it looked like a very scientifically proven way to get everybody a nice piece of the net while preserving another netless? Is that right? Is that what we called it? Preserving the netless again for Dawn Staley for a second national championship.
That actually is a good point, though, because all it takes is one person just going right up the middle and deciding, I'm just going to take it up. Yeah.
Going rogue?
Yeah, going rogue, and you can destroy the netless immediately.
So, good point, Gene, on that. One other thing to mention from the weekend. Jen, who won NASCAR? NASCAR. There was a race yesterday. It did. Wasn't here last week, and guess who I picked? There was, I know. He did, yeah. Yeah, and And so a really good weekend all the way around for me as I great weather, caught a couple fish yesterday, grilled out, and watched the national championship last night. 803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program this morning. Reggie Anderson has already sent me a text message. I bet this is a congratulatory text message. Turns out he's not. He's just telling me he's in Augusta. And
he's probably just
thought for sure he was going to be congratulating me right now on my Denny Hamlin victory.
No, not with the text exchanges that, he and I have had.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, that's a shame. Let's get out to a man who will probably congratulate the Lady Gamecocks. Gamecock Larry first up this morning. How are you this morning, Larry?
Doing okay. Congratulations to the Lady Gamecocks. I was not too excited because I expected it. I told you they'd beat them by 14. They beat them by 15. I told you that they beat Louisville by, I think I told you, I don't forget what I think I missed it by 3. I was not too excited over it, but I'm glad we won. But we got something to brag about. But what in the world happened to a complete game pitcher? This is 2 games that Sanders has lost because of the coach pulling them out. What happened to the guy that pitched 2 9-inning games the same day? What in the world is wrong with this pitch count? I'm going to tell you, I ain't getting no hitting. I'm not going to talk any more about baseball. I'm looking forward to football. But, Bill, you won. Who told you Denny Hamlin was going to win? Somebody must have given you. I don't forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, somebody probably gave him the name.
Jennifer told you she'd give you her, and that's what happened. You seen what Jennifer was going to do, and you stole it from her. Yes, sir, that's what happened. But I ain't no more baseball, no more basketball. Unless, waiting on Lamont Paris Wednesday night call in. And, I've been trying to make that call in show for the last 5 years, and I ain't got on there yet. I believe they got me barred from the call-in show. They will not let Gamecock Larry talk on the call-in show. I'm going to try it one more time this Wednesday night. If I can't get in, check the hotline Thursday morning for me, okay?
All right.
I'm going to try to get on. But I'll go Gamecocks. Love you, Bill. Jim, Piper, love you all. And Gamecock Nation, you've got a championship. Go Gamecocks. Now I got to find my oxygen. Go Gamecocks.
Yes, please go find the oxygen, please. Right. Well, there's a lot of ways you can wrap up the first segment of the program. Sending Gamecock Larry off to find his oxygen seems about the best way to do it this morning. It's Jennifer Jensen. It's Patrick Pratt. It's Bill Gunner. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Yep. And yes, summer is almost here. Time to get out there. Obviously, Masters Week going to probably get you in the mood to play some golf coming up here soon. Potentially have some joint pain holding you back, though. If that is the case, you got to check out our friends at Prisma Health Orthopedics. They are the official team physicians for the South Carolina Gamecocks and the Clemson Tigers, so you know that they will give you the same care that they give to the defending national champions now. Again, they're the most comprehensive orthopedic group in the region. They've got 65 specialists with over 6 locations to best serve you. So if hip and knee pain is making your daily life difficult, you need to seek the best care. Find out if it's affecting your quality of life by taking a free health assessment. Don't let hip or knee pain hold you back. Prisma Health is the region's most trusted orthopedic practice with a deep-rooted history and innovative procedures in teaching the next generation of orthopedic physicians. They offer a full-service walk-in orthopedic urgent care clinic for all sports injuries, strains, sprains, fractures, as well as chronic joint pain. So again, get out there, take the free health assessment to find out if joint pain is affecting your quality of life. They've built a foundation for patient-centered care and innovation, resulting in the best possible services for their patients. So find out for yourself. Learn more by visiting prismahealth.org/orthopedics. That's prismahealth.org/orthopedics.
Yeah, I feel like I missed that. When did Will Sanders throw a one day 2 9-inning games? Anybody else catch that?
Yeah, I think he was just lamenting the days where a pitcher would pitch 18 innings a day. The good old days with the people that no longer have arms.
That was before Tommy John was born, so there was no Tommy John surgery.
Yeah. You just pitched till your arm fell off at age 30.
Yeah. South Carolina win the national championship, and Gamecock Larry and Gamecock Larry of all people complains about the baseball program.
Yeah, he wasn't happy at all. Yeah, well, I knew they were going to win.
You win a national championship, and instead of rubbing it in Georgia or Clemson's face, he talks about the baseball team. I heard the beeping at first, and I was a little concerned he was in the hospital when I heard the. But then I guess it was
sounded like a microwave.
No, I thought that was like
a heart monitor
is that they hook up. Yeah,
no, because it kind of kept going.
Am I the only one dreading already the 9:00 start tonight? Like, just accepting of I'm not even going to try and get to the end.
So, Billy, you understood that with the Love Chevy?
Yeah. Do it right now.
Thank you.
Do it now. I'll do it now, and then we'll get the final call. $6:35 on a Monday morning, April the 4th. A day to celebrate. There will be a parade around here at some point in the next few days as the South Carolina women's basketball team claims their second national championship. We'll get you some audio of that coming up in just a second. But want to tell you about another champion. How about the folks at Love Chevrolet, the champion of the people, especially when it comes to making sure that car, truck, or SUV that you've been looking for, that you can find it there. Go find out at Love Chevrolet how they've taken care of their customers for over 60 years. They opened their doors in 1961, so they've been around for over 60 years, making sure you get the best price possible. They don't tack on extra add-ons to their sticker price, raising the price and taking advantage of customers in this time of high demand and low supply. At Love Chevrolet, it is business as usual. From the $1,000 low price guarantee, which means you can go and shop other dealerships and take their deal back to the folks at Love Chevrolet and they'll top it. If not, if they won't top it, they'll write you a check for $1,000. That's great customer service. All the way down to the incredible selection of vehicles. Right now, Love Chevrolet has got you taken care of. 14 acres of brand new Chevys to choose from and an incredible certified pre-owned lot as well. Go to Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Check out all the great deals they've got going on, how they'll take care of you, and make sure you thank them because they do a great job. That's why I use them, why I believe you should use them as well. Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads. Last night, we've talked about it. We'll talk about it a lot this morning. South Carolina wins their second national championship under Dawn Staley. Here's how it sounded in the closing seconds. That is the call last night as South Carolina, again, you hear it claims second national championship for the program under Dawn Staley's watch. And Patrick, I thought you asked a fair question to Heath Klein on Friday when we had him on our program prior to the Louisville game about would the season be a disappointment if they did not win the championship. And I understood his answer. I understood where he was going with his answer that, winning a national championship, I don't think you should ever have a season in which that is the
end all be all.
Yeah, we know how tough it is. Well, we've seen great men's basketball teams, the Zion, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish Duke team, didn't even get to the Final Four. So you don't make it the end all be all. But Patrick, I thought you had a legitimate question that I thought you could have actually made the case for, that if they'd have not won the championship this past weekend, you would have, as was just said there, you would have been number one all season, but without an SEC tournament championship and without another great opportunity for a national championship. And it would have been a pretty massive letdown, in my opinion. So this is the culmination, really, of Dawn Staley continuing to grow this program.
Yeah, and that's why it should be all celebratory. But we even have, of all people, Gamecock Larry, like you said in the break, calling in, and the first thing he said was congratulations, but we expected it, and then moved on to baseball. So you're just in a weird position as a coach of that dominant of a team, and going wire to wire as number one, but coming out of it without a trophy, that would be just tremendously disappointing. So they really did have to win this game. The only hardware they would have had otherwise would be individual awards. And yes, that's something, and that's special, and you get an attachment to the players, so people would still be happy for Aaliyah Boston and saying it was a successful year for her, and Destiny Henderson would move on to WNBA, and you'd call that a success because she's made it to the professionals. But no, as a program, you needed to win this championship, and they did, and they solidified themselves as an all-time program. When you go wire to wire number one, your name's going to be mentioned in any discussion now. And I asked Brad earlier this season for senior day where he puts this team as the best South Carolina teams, and the discussion will eventually be had between Aaliyah and Asia Wilson. But also this team, I think somebody texted in and nailed it. They really were robbed of a third as well, because the COVID team was absolutely incredible. The team that got their season canceled because of COVID, he was absolutely incredible, undefeated, and destroyed everyone that came their way. So it is good to have a second one. It adds a little bit more legitimacy to everything you've been doing. But yeah, it weirdly was kind of expected.
Here is what Aaliyah Boston had to say, kind of as it pertains to what Patrick just mentioned with that COVID year and where this program and team has been. Aaliyah Boston last night, there was the slip up, and I felt bad for Holly Rowe.
Yeah.
I think Holly Rowe is a professional, and I think she has done so much. I think she's one of my top announcers in the game, and I felt bad for Aaliyah Boston, but I'm not sure I didn't feel worse for Holly Rowe, because I know she prides herself on professionalism, getting it right. She understands her role as a woman in that sport, or in this genre of trying to do everything properly, because she knows that her mistakes get magnified, which is unfair. But I think Holly Rowe has always been one of the best at her job. And I hated it. I really did hate it for her last night. And you could see the embarrassment on her face, and just trying to make it up to Aaliyah Boston. You could kind of tell Aaliyah Boston was a little perturbed about it as well. Like I didn't get the feeling Aaliyah Boston just shook it off. It was like, ha ha ha. I know, it's like, that was a little bit of an awkward moment, Jen.
Well, it almost made you feel, because you kind of got the feeling that everybody was still thinking UConn's going to get this. UConn will get the win, and so that just kind of amplified that a little bit. Like it may have still been in Holly Rowe's mind of, oh yeah, probably UConn's got this, and it was a mistake. And I understand Aaliyah, it'd taken a few minutes for her to warm up to that, and even off the mic, she was still apologizing to her. You could tell. So I mean, I did feel bad because she's a consummate professional.
And I usually disagree with South Carolina fans that think like they don't get the attention, but I was watching with my girlfriend, and we took note of the entire halftime they only talk about UConn. And most of the pregame, we turned on the pregame, and we were sitting there for like 10 minutes watching, and at some point noticed they haven't said a word about South Carolina since this thing started. And I get it from the broadcasting side of things that they wanted the game to be a good game. So more of the analysis was on what does UConn need to do to come back and make this a competitive game, because it's boring talking about a blowout for 2 hours, 2+ hours, and it's not good for ratings if South Carolina is just out there dominating. But for Holly Rowe to then also, after on the tail of all that, throw out the UConn player's name was a problem for her. But it's I don't put her into that category of pulling for UConn, because she knows who Aaliyah Boston is. She went to the Virgin Islands this year. She did a special, like I don't know if you'd consider it E60 or whatever it was, but she went out there and went to the establishment that has Aaliyah Boston's jersey hanging up next to Tim Duncan's, and did the whole like behind the scenes of Aaliyah Boston's upbringing and everything. So she knows exactly who she is. It does stink for her.
Yeah, and I suspect there's probably more she'll do. I bet there's still a phone call, a handwritten note,
but one
visit
of the
to Hall's Chop House.
Yeah, one of the South Carolina players in the background, you could hear on the hot mic, was like, "You said Aaliyah Edwards," and Holly was like, "I know, I fixed it, I know."
Yeah,
I did feel bad for her.
She knew she had messed up pretty quickly, but certainly, again, that if that was the biggest fumble last night, South Carolina had a really good night then, and they do by claiming their second national championship. We'll continue talking about this. Again, we expect Debbie Antonelli to join us at 8:30 this morning to give her breakdown of the game from last night, and we will, again, get you plenty more audio, play that final cut as well. But we'll also talk about tonight's game, Kansas and North Carolina for the national championship. We'll get into that. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. It feels like we are going to transition very quickly from, winter into summer. I mean, let's face it, around here, that's about how it works, right? Spring is about a week and a half, 2 weeks max. You go from having to have your heating unit on at night to stay warm to the air conditioner being used constantly. And if you're worried about that air conditioner this coming summer, it's time to call AAA Heating and Air. Roy and Dana Finley, get in touch with them today, 803-677-1500. The reason I trust AAA Heating and Air is because they treat me like a family member, and they will do the same for you. That's why I like being a part of their family. They treat their customers like their own family members. They start by offering you a $59 inspection. All you got to do is tell them you heard it right here with Bill Gunner on 107.5 The Game. They'll come out, make sure the Freon's in there, that all the cords and the wires are working properly, that the coils are ready for the summer heat. Call them today. Get that $59 inspection, 803-677-1500. Again, you can tell them Bill Gunner sent you. If there's a major issue or if it's time to replace your heating and air unit, AAA Heating and Air has a great deal for you. They'll offer you a $1,500 rebate to buy back your old unit. Then no money down, 0% financing for those who qualify. And finally, a 15-year parts and labor warranty to make sure that heating and air unit continues to work. So don't miss another day and worry about that air conditioner going out on you this summer. Call AAA Heating and Air, 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Listen to this. Can you hear this, Patrick? Patrick, can you hear this playing on my computer? Patrick, leave. Can anybody hear this? Am I talking to myself? You can't hear it? I don't hear you.
I can hear you talking. I don't hear anything playing.
Oh, okay. I just happened to flip. I'll bring this up at some point because I didn't look. Women's basketball is so different than men's. There's an interview that I didn't see until just now with Aaliyah Boston after the game. ESPN's interviewing her, and it sounds like she's basically saying she's going to come back next year. Like, I know they can leave after their junior year, and that's still pretty rare in the women's game. So, is it kind of known that Aaliyah Boston's definitely coming back for her senior year?
I thought so. I assumed she was.
Yeah, I couldn't hear. Thanks, Joseph. Yeah. I wonder. Yeah, is Darius Rucker going to have a concert on the Horseshoe? Yeah, didn't he say something? Wasn't that? What do you mean, Travis? What do you mean she has to come back? Like, I think she can. I think after your junior year, she can declare. How old is Gino Auriemma? He's only 68.
Oh, yeah. Leah Boston's only 20 years old.
When does she turn 21?
She's actually can't. In December.
Oh. Huh.
So, yeah, she actually can't go to the WNBA.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, she's got 2. But actually, that's a good question. I wonder if it's 3 years, kind of like the weird way that even baseball structures it, where you have to be 3 years removed from high school. I think the NFL is the same way. It's not necessarily 3 years, but that's interesting. So she's definitely coming back then. Yeah.
It would be interesting if she came back to use her 5th year and said, like, I want to break a bunch of records. You ever seen these Cambodian guys that build swimming pools with their bare hands? Like with one tool from the ground up?
Can't say I have.
I've been watching one of these videos for 20 minutes. It's incredible.
All right, there's that. About a 9:20 expected tip time tonight, I believe, is what we are aiming for. I feel so old saying this, but I really am, Patrick, dreading the 9:20 Eastern time start. I mean, we've talked about this before in terms, especially us, early morning show, and I appreciate a lot of you getting up with us each and every morning. I know you're getting the kids off to school, getting yourself ready to go to work and everything, but even if I had it like a regular job that started at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., I would be dreading the 9:20 start time tonight. Just absolutely ridiculous to start a game that late on a Monday night. Is there anybody that's like okay with that? I mean, I guess maybe people on the West Coast who would be a 6:20 start time.
I mean, if I was in college, I wouldn't care.
Yeah, it's just kind of it's kind of crazy tonight. I'll climb in bed and hope to make it to the very end of the game and come in here just falling apart tomorrow morning. Kansas is a 4-point favorite tonight, Patrick. Over under is 152. I'm looking at our buddy Brian Edwards and VegasInsider.com. Daniel Dabish is who has a write-up on this. He has Kansas winning 84-71. You like the Kansas -4 pick tonight? You like going with the underdog in this game? Were you kind of leaning on sides and totals in this game?
No, I think I'm all aboard Kansas. I think North Carolina played the most emotional game probably in the history of the sport, and their best player got a little banged up in that game. So I just think they kind of emptied it all, let it all hang out for that game, and it's going to end with Kansas probably comfortably winning is kind of my theory. And normally I wouldn't say it doesn't matter unless you don't win a championship, but like North Carolina fans are probably going to be more content without a championship than Kansas fans. Like I guess I have to talk to a North Carolina fan, but if they lose in the national championship, it doesn't matter. I mean, they still did ruin Coach K's last year. And they're going to be happy. Like, they're going to have the ultimate bragging rights for the rest of time. Because of that, I guess it doesn't I don't know. I've been going back and forth where it doesn't matter if you don't win a championship. Like, it would be a little extra something to say during Coach K's last year we won the title, but I do think that they emptied the chambers on Saturday night and they don't have much left.
If North Carolina wins tonight, it would be their 7th national championship. They also claim a pre-tournament championship back in 1924, but there's 6 other ones: 1957, 1982, 1993, 2005, 2009, and of course, most recently, 2017. So it would be their 7th national championship if they win tonight. Kansas, if they take home the crown, it'll be their 4th national championship. 1952, 1988, 2008 are the 3 previous times. They were also runners-up twice more this century. 2003 and 2012 are the other times that Kansas ended up in the national championship game and didn't get the job done. So chance for number 4 tonight for the Jayhawks, number 7 on the line for the Tar Heels. We'll continue talking about that coming up at 8:05 this morning. Michael Boland with CBS Sports will join us. We will catch up with him to get his thoughts on tonight's game and how he thinks it'll play out. We'll continue talking about it. Some Gamecock football news as well. And, well, Patrick, we got to continue. We're not going to stop talking women's basketball. It was a big night for South Carolina last night. Did we miss any NFL news from the weekend?
I don't believe so. Let me check. I'll go back and check. I don't think so, though. I think we're good.
Okay, so we'll do that. You're listening to the early game. We got 2 more hours to go. It's Bill Gunner, Jennifer Jensen, and Patrick Pratt, 107.5 The Game. 7:01 on a Monday morning, April the 4th. Hope you're doing well this morning. Up and Adam, ready for a new week, Masters Week. Tiger Woods has until his tee time Thursday morning to decide whether to play or not. He says it will be a game time decision. Patrick, Tiger Woods knows whether he's going to play or not, right? Like, I mean, do you think he is sitting there this morning? I know some people are heading down. Maybe you're in your car this morning on the way to Augusta for a practice round today. Hang out at beautiful Augusta National, eat a pimento cheese sandwich, and have a $2 beer. It's still otherworldly down there once you get inside the gates, how cheap everything is. Do you think Tiger Woods has a feel, or like does he play a practice round today and then makes a decision, maybe not publicly, but makes a decision after a practice round today?
I think he knows that he's playing. I mean, I guess maybe it wouldn't benefit him to not announce it if he knew for certain that he was playing. So maybe he's just giving himself every opportunity to not make an announcement. But I feel like he's playing. I don't think he'd be going through all this, and he knows that everyone's talking about it. And I think he's physically capable of playing. I think it's just a matter of how well will he play, because I don't think he's someone that would be content to play but not play well. I think if he's gonna get out there and play, he wants to know that he's gonna shoot a decent score and be in the running to at least make a cut. So I'm fully expecting him to play. It's just a matter of how well.
And that would be the other question, is what do you expect from Tiger Woods? This is a course he knows. I think that's what makes it more realistic than, say, coming back at for the U.S. Open or for the PGA Championship. I think the PGA is at Southern Hills, if I'm thinking correctly, this year. And I'm trying to, all of a sudden, I've Brookline, I think, is where the U.S. Open is. I might have those backwards. But the bottom line is he knows this course. He knows how to walk this course, even if he is not in great physical shape. If he's having problems with his legs, I would assume that he has an understanding of how to kind of go out and adjust his game to fit Augusta National, to maybe put himself where he makes it to the weekend. And if he makes it to the weekend, I think it just becomes an incredible story to begin with. And then, like I said, Southern Hills is in May. That'll be the PGA Championship. And then the Country Club in Brookline, Massachusetts is where the U.S. Open will be. And maybe this is a test to see if his body can hold up for the majors, because as Tiger has talked about, his days of playing a usual tour schedule, it's long gone. Now it'll be really, in my opinion, if he is competitive, and that'll be the point of it for Tiger Woods. If he's competitive, Tiger Woods' days of golf now, Patrick, will be pretty much centered around majors and any other big time tournament or tournament that he feels like he needs to be a part of, like to honor, say, a Jack Nicklaus at the Memorial Tournament at the beginning of June or something of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, how long is that going to go on, though? Is it going to be 5 to 10 years of him just playing in majors? Like, will he be able to even do that? And I don't know how many, if he tries to play this weekend and then on Friday on hole 5 says, yeah, you know what, I can't do it because I'm just exhausted right now. My leg hurts and I'm not playing well. I'm just going to go ahead and withdraw. Like, I just don't know how long that storyline's going to go on. I mean, I guess he has, like, how old is he right now? Do you know off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head. Now you've got me wondering.
He's 46. So, yes. I mean, realistically, like for 15 years, we could be dealing with the Tiger. Is Tiger going to play this week? And for 15 years, we can have the discussion of, well, if there's any course that he can come back and play, it's going to be Augusta. And I just feel like this discussion is going to happen forever.
This happens with all the major big time golfers. It's been a little more rare of late with the ability to stay healthy and stuff. I mean, you've seen Phil Mickelson really be able to uphold a constant tournament schedule. But I think we all knew something like this was coming in the future. I never really could see Tiger moving off onto, even when he was healthy, or go back 3 or 4 years ago as he was really starting to play and be a little bit more competitive, and then obviously would go on to win the Masters. But I could never see Tiger riding off into the sunset on the senior tour. I always saw a scenario like this where, he'd play the majors, again, maybe play the Memorial, maybe, play a few other major tournaments, like big-time tournaments. Again, something maybe on the Florida swing, play Pebble Beach, Something similar to the way Jack Nicklaus was wrapping up his career. And yes, you play for 15 years. I mean, obviously, money is not going to be a problem for Tiger Woods. He doesn't need to play, 3 tournaments a month out of and take 1 weekend off. He can play now basically 7, 8, 9 tournaments a year max. Do some celebrity appearances, maybe find himself in a little bit of broadcasting if that's the way he wants to do it, or just hang out with his son and daughter and go about his life. But it will be interesting to see if Tiger plays this week. Richard weighing in on our text line and says Tiger definitely playing. You can see he's definitely in the best shape he's been in the past few months from pictures at the Masters. Richard goes on to say, I've got Cam Smith winning and Tiger as my dark horse pick. I think he'll be a top 5 in spite of all he's been through. We'll see, again, how that plays out. Something we'll certainly cover more so this week as we go through and get you ready for Augusta National today. Again, the first day you can head on down and check out the practice rounds. Always a big deal to get down there and to check everything out. So if you're heading down and you visit this weekend and want to relay some reports back to us one morning, we'd love to hear from you. 803-404-6100, how you can text in this morning. Charles weighing in on tonight's basketball game. I was talking about staying up till 9:20. He says, I don't understand why you would miss sleep over teams you don't care about. I care about good games. I just kind of with Charles on that. I don't know if I'm going to be going out of my way to fight to stay up all night, Patrick. It might be a thing where the TV stays on, and if my eyes fall asleep and I doze off,
So only your eyes fall asleep, the rest of you does not?
Yeah, pretty much. Body keeps moving.
Were you more motivated to stay up for the UNC Duke game than you would be the national championship?
Yeah, I think so, actually. I would admit, ADD culture or me personally or whatever, there's not many times I can sit down and watch a full 4 quarters of a football game or a full basketball game. At some point you might flip the channel, you might walk off, you wander around for a minute, you just get we have so many things that can distract our attention these days, whether it's cell phones or different channels or, something else to do. But the Duke North Carolina game, that is probably I don't want to say invested, but as interested as I have been to watch a game and see the outcome of that. And again, it was a pretty good game, Patrick. I mean, back and forth, you had just a high level of play from both teams. Really didn't want to see either team lose. I will say this. Armando Bacot, I really like watching him play. The energy with which he plays, the attitude with which he plays. He is expected to be okay tonight. There's no way he's going to be 100% after what looked like kind of a scary rolling of the ankle there late in the game, right?
Yeah, he's going to be okay to play, but he's not going to be 100%. I mean, did you see his interview after the game? They asked him about it, and he said, yeah, when it happened, it hurt really bad. My initial thought was, I'm done. I'm not going to be able to play. And then I sat there for a couple minutes and realized, wait, this is the biggest college basketball game of all time. So I had to thug it out. He said,
yeah,
it was awesome. He's just a stud. 21 rebounds. I mean, he has been the driving force for North Carolina all year long. If he's not out there, they're just a completely different team. And yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the Duke UNC thing, though. I was far more motivated to watch the end of that. It's like, it almost reminds me of it's going to remind me of the like USA beating the Soviet Union in hockey and then forgetting that when you go back in history, people kind of forget that we had to go in and beat Finland for the gold medal game, and that wasn't the gold medal game. So maybe for the rest of time, this will be the trivia question. If UNC wins the national championship, who do they actually beat in the national championship? Like the bigger game has already happened for sure.
I do agree. Richard, I think, weighed in on our text line and disagreed with you a little bit. I'm sure North Carolina fans want a national championship. They've got 6. They would like 7. But I do agree with you. They are going to consider this season a historical success given what they did to Mike Krzyzewski in Cameron Indoor and what they did to Mike Krzyzewski in the Final Four, right? Like Eric Church somewhere Saturday night was celebrating with all the North Carolina fans, singing several songs probably and high-fiving. Did we get – I never saw him on television. Did we ever get confirmation that he was in New Orleans or just at his house having a house party?
I have no idea.
Okay, yeah.
Let me check his social media.
Yeah, so that would be interesting. But, yeah, what North Carolina has done to Duke this year, they're going to probably consider this season a massive, massive success. A couple of you have weighed in on our text line this morning in regards to the North Carolina game tonight. And one of the bigger storylines, Caleb Love has been really good. A lot of you are pointing that out on the text line. 28 points. And we talked about Armando Bacot, 11 points and 21 rebounds Saturday night against Duke. And he was a big reason why North Carolina advances. But Caleb Love plays all 40 minutes. His stat line the last 3 weeks, or excuse me, last 3 games, last 2 weekends, he's played 40 minutes, Patrick, against UCLA, scoring 30. He played 39 minutes against St. Peter's, pouring in 14. And then again, Saturday night, 40 points for the North Carolina point guard, 28 points scored in that game, along with 1 assist and 4 rebounds. Caleb Love is a big piece of this game tonight, being able to get up and down the floor. And I kind of, to your point, North Carolina doesn't play a lot of guys. They only played 8 guys the other night against Duke, and the majority of their guys are going to get 30 to 35 plus minutes. You go back the other night, the bench players, one guy had 1 minute, one guy had 3 minutes, and one guy had 9. Puff Johnson led the bench guys with 9 minutes and 2 points. Everything else came from the starters, with Leaky Black and Caleb Love both playing 40 minutes. Can this team get through one more 40-minute game with that kind of rotation?
Yes. I mean, I think they can. I do worry about Bacot's injury more so than the conditioning. Like, these guys are in fine shape, and they know one more chance to just give it everything you've got. So I think conditioning wise, they're going to be completely okay. It's just a matter of, is Bacot going to be able to tough it out on that ankle all night long? And if not, there's going to be serious problems. I think North Carolina is not going to be the same team without him. So conditioning wise, yes, but other than that, no.
803-404-61. What?
So now what? I just see you.
Gabe weighs in on the text line. What about last night? Hasn't been mentioned for us 7 a.m. listeners. Yeah, we played a bunch of audio in the front. We're going to talk more about it. We got Debbie Antonelli coming. I know that not everybody can listen to the first hour or the third hour, but yes, we've talked a lot about the women's basketball game last night. South Carolina with their second national championship under Dawn Staley, and certainly we're going to get back into it. First hour.
Yeah, you can listen to the podcast that's about to go up that you'll hear part of the first hour.
Yeah, anything. And by the way, Jen, explain to everybody, you did a great job. I was out sick on Thursday, but we are now on Spotify. Can you give the breakdown of how, if people want to go back and listen to any podcast, you can go back to Spotify, where they can find us? And
yeah, it's just the Early Game Pod. Now, you're probably going to have to scroll because it's newer, so it's going to take a little bit to find us. Eventually, we'll probably, get up a little higher. But I also put on my Twitter page last week a link out there, and we'll kind of continue to do that and put it out there. But then once you obviously save it as a favorite, so you can go back to it easier. But again, it's the Early Game Pod.
So yeah, anything you've missed, you can go to Spotify, where Jen has done a great job getting us set up there. Obviously, you can always go back to our YouTube channel and rewatch us in the morning for anything that you want to see or listen that way. You can go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click and subscribe to be a part of that. So a lot of ways, anything you miss, because I do understand. We do understand. You got to get yourself to work, hopefully. You got to get kids off to school, hopefully. And, 3 hours of radio, 3 hours of me talking is a lot for you to listen to. So anything you've missed.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, I'm sorry. Was my mic on?
Your mic was on. It's crazy how that works. Yeah. Anything you've missed that you want to go back and hear, go to Spotify and, again, search the Early Game 1075. Or you can go and check us out, youtube.com. You can always go to Jen's Twitter account as well. She retweets all of a lot of our content, interviews at Jen Jensen Morse is the way to do that. So we will get into that basketball game last night. Dawn Staley in South Carolina, the second national championship for her. Probably not going to be the last either. I'll ask you, Patrick, about some of the facial expressions of Geno Auriemma last night and where you see South Carolina.
There were expressions?
You could just tell.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If he could have left, he would have.
I put it on Twitter, and I'm not saying that Connecticut's going away. Connecticut's going to continue to be pretty good at the game of basketball. But you could watch his facial expressions there at the end, and he knows he's got a good basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he's got a good basketball team, and yet still, his facial expressions to me was a guy who knew he had a good team that could not do anything with the team he was playing, and they were just. It was multiple times a face of defeat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just I know I have a good team,
and doesn't know how to lose. I think that's the other part. Like, I'm not saying he's a sore loser, but I think it was kind of it was almost a humbling look at times.
It's his first championship game loss of
Yeah.
his career.
Yeah.
No, 11-0
Don't know how to do it.
for Auriemma going into last night. Now he is 11-1 as South Carolina claims the national championship last night. Somebody asked earlier, I am efforting to see if I can get any information before we leave air on what time the team may be landing back in Columbia. I'm working on that this morning to see if we can, before we go off air, if you wanted to go out to the airport and catch them arriving or what may be going on. I've yet to see any concrete plans about when the team will get back. But if I can get that information this morning before we get off air, I will definitely make sure to get it out there. And then that way, if you want to head out to the airport and greet them, or I'm guessing meet them at the arena, I'm sure there'll be something. It just says right now the Gamecocks fly out of Minneapolis on Monday morning and will hold a welcome home event outside Colonial Life Arena after arriving back in Columbia. This is the email we got last night. It says, continue to check Gamecocks online and the team's social media accounts for the most up-to-date information. So we will keep an eye on that this morning. And as soon as we come across that, we will make sure we get that information out to you if you want to go and greet the team either at the airport or at the arena this morning when they get back. So we will continue to monitor that and get that information to you. We'll talk more about this, play a little bit more audio, talk a little Gamecock football as well. They pick up a commitment over the weekend. It is the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Size.
And want to take a chance to talk to you about our good friends at Canty Foundation Specialists. They are the best in the business and have been proudly serving North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, including Columbia, Greenville, Augusta, Charlotte, and Charleston. Again, they are the foundation specialists specializing in foundation and crawl space repair. Maybe you need some help in that regard. If you have cracks in your exterior brick or cracks in your walls above your windows, uneven or bouncy floors, doors or windows that stick, or cracks over your garage door, those can all be signs of foundation problems. Crawl space as well. Maybe you experienced a storm recently and have standing water under your home. That can be a sign of a crawl space issue, which can cause high humidity and condensation to create environment for mold, mildew, and pests. The moisture can lead to wood rot and floor joist problems, and those musty smells and awful odors can come from mold and mildew in your crawl space. They can cause health issues like runny nose, itchy eyes, or coughs. 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space, so you need to make sure that it's taken care of, and Canty can do that for you. They also can do things like concrete leveling, concrete repair, commercial services, or basement waterproofing. So they are well-rounded. And again, they have been proudly serving North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia as the foundation specialist for years. So get out there and visit them at cantycanfixit.com or give them a call at 803-424-8330. Again, cantycanfixit.com or 803-424-8380.
Eight 803-404-6100, how you can join us this morning. You can hop on the Buford Lending live stream as well. Jerry, Will, Ross, a lot of people weighing in there on the Buford Lending live stream. Dimitri as well. So you can go youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click subscribe, join along. Big thank you to Buford Lending for sponsoring our live stream there. Where you can go and be a part of the program. You can check it out, too, if you go to our Facebook page, 1075 The Game. You can watch that way. Of course, the link also pops up on Twitter each and every morning on the 1075 The Game Twitter account. You can always go back and watch and see anything that you missed. Occasionally, we have off-air conversations that don't necessarily make it on air, so you can join a lot of ways. And if you want to be a part of the program this morning, 803-404-6100. You can text in or you can give us a call and talk to us. Anonymous texter says, even though I'm a Clemson fan, congratulations to Dawn Staley and Gamecock Nation. A couple other people weighing in this morning. Anonymous texter says, Gino knew it was over at the end of the first. And it was a game last night, Patrick, that now you get that first one. You get that first national championship, and it's kind of it gets the burden off of you. You got one. You finally proved you could do it. You win two. Now you start talking about where you are in the hierarchy of that particular sport. Clemson did this a couple years ago. When they won their second football national championship, all of a sudden it changed. They won the first one and it was a cute story and it was good, and Clemson's gotten a lot better. Then they won the second one and it instantly became, oh, okay, it's kind of Clemson and Alabama now.
Yeah, and so in college basketball, I'm looking at the list of the most national championships, and UConn obviously has the most. I mean, they have 11, and then 8 for Tennessee, and then after that, it's kind of everyone else. Baylor has 3, Stanford has 3, so South Carolina is just one away from taking the third place. And do you know? I guess you would know, but Gino has all 11 of those UConn national champions.
Because he said last night he was 11-0 in national championship games.
Yeah, and that is just putting it in perspective, absurd how successful they have been. So it's going to be a long time before you can reach that type of level or even be in a discussion with them. But yeah, 2 national championships in 5 years. One more will put you tied for third with Baylor and Stanford. And there's really, I mean, the sky is the limit at that point. And the way they're recruiting right now, there's no reason to think that this was just the right combination of players and events. Like, no, South Carolina, as we've seen, this is sustainable success. Dawn has been doing it for, I don't know how long you'd say that they were at this level, but probably about 7 to 8 years. So yeah, just keep it going, and you can establish yourself. I don't think Dawn also feels like someone that's going to be content with, a decade of success and then hang it up. I think she's in this for the long haul too. And South Carolina, you've talked about how they made the decision early to make sure that she was well paid and well compensated. So I think she's going to be loyal to the university, and obviously the fan base loves it, and that support's not going anywhere. So there's no reason to think that they can't do this for a long time.
I think most people last night just hope she has no aspirations to be an athletic director within the next few years. Just keep coaching. Yeah. Don't want to go into administration. Fun, right? But it is. You look at what happened last night, and you look at where this team is. We were talking about it off air. Aaliyah Boston is coming back. I didn't realize it. I thought she was eligible as a junior to declare for the WNBA draft, but you looked it up. She doesn't turn 21 until December, which actually makes her ineligible. So she will definitely be back next year. We talked about Zia Cook coming back. Bree Bill will obviously be back. You've got, and again, because of the COVID year, some of these things get a little fuzzy with me on where South Carolina is necessarily, but not just women's basketball, but football and baseball, everything, and with rosters because of the free COVID year and how all that is kind of continuing to play out and how rosters look. But Patrick, I mean, again, you're bringing in more good players. You get Raven Johnson back, who got injured at the beginning of the year, and I don't have it in front of me who exactly was the top recruit that came in, whether it was Raven Johnson or Sanaya Rivers. I know they were all right up there. I think Bree Hall was up there. I think they were all within the top 10 in terms of freshmen coming in. But that's kind of part of it. You look at this roster and who's coming back next year, and I'm assuming again Saxton is listed as a senior. Destiny Henderson is listed as senior again. Because of the COVID, I don't want to speak out of turn and say that those girls are definitely gone. I think they're gone, but again with that free COVID year, I'm not sure if that's something that maybe they can take one more year if they want to get it. It's hard to say, but the bottom line is the rest of the roster, pretty much back.
I do think both of them are gone, Saxton and Henderson, because Henderson will go to the draft. That's kind of been decided. But the way that it was talked about, like senior day, and then I think Saxton I remember fouling out of that senior day and it being emotional and them saying, "Oh, this is tough, our last game in Colonial Life Arena." And so I think the plan is that she's going to move on, and she might get drafted too. I know that she's kind of being looked at as a fringe draftable player. So I was expecting that both of them would be gone. I don't know if she would have fought for it. Would she have been able to get a 5th year of eligibility? But yeah, the expectation is both of them will be gone, but it's really not going to change all that much. I mean, Destiny Henderson is going to be a tremendous loss, and you listen to Dawn or any of the other players talk about the little things and the dirty work that Saxton did, but that doesn't mean that you don't have someone else with a tremendous pedigree lined up right behind them. So that's just how it goes.
I mean, again, they expected Raven Johnson to step in and play a large role on this basketball team, and unfortunately, she suffered the injury very early in the season, and she was the 5'8" guard out of Atlanta, Georgia. So you look at her to kind of step in probably into that point guard role, which will allow Cook to continue to play in an off the ball role. Bree Bill is maybe establishing herself as the best. What Bree Bill did, by the way, to Haley Van Lith the other night on Friday night. And I mean, Bree Bill set the tone early on with a block on Haley Van Lith that was absolutely phenomenal. Van Lith was the little 5'8" guard for Louisville who had been playing really well in the tournament. And I didn't realize some of the things about Haley Van Lith until I was watching the game. Her background. Patrick, did you know much about her?
No.
From Washington? She trained at Kobe Bryant's, basically at his academy or whatever in California, and got to be good friends with Kobe and his daughter Gianna that unfortunately passed away with him in the helicopter crash. So she had a lot of background stuff. A lot of her training is through Kobe Bryant, and she'd been playing really good. And Bree Bill just absolutely demolished her.
Yeah.
on Friday night. And so that's the other thing. I think it's now 47 straight games. They're really starting to pump up this stat where South Carolina has held their opponent under their scoring average for the season. 47 straight games of Dawn Staley's defense holding your opponent under their scoring average. Absolutely ridiculous. And defense isn't necessarily going to graduate with this team. It's going to be right back next year. We'll continue talking about this. We'll get into South Carolina in the next segment. South Carolina got a commitment in football from the transfer portal. We'll talk a little bit about that and the impact it'll have, not just for this year, but maybe moving forward. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Winning a big basketball game calls for doing a cannonball into the pool, or maybe a jackknife or a belly flop. Belly flops are fun for those of us watching, not for those of you doing it. But whatever it may be, that pool needs to be clean. It needs to be ready to be jumped in. You don't want to make the family members jump into a green, murky pool or one that's got algae all in it. You need to call Corley Pool Solutions today. Tracy Corley and his team are ready to take care of your pool and have you enjoying it this summer with family, with neighbors, with whomever, maybe just by yourself. Call Corley Pool Solutions today, 803-445-8109. It's flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. And the best thing about Corley Pool Solutions, I'm telling you, this is the absolute best thing. Tracy Corley is their own site himself to make sure your pool is maintained. It's not just some team randomly showing up and Tracy's hanging out at his house watching basketball. He's there with them. He's watching the pool himself. He's making sure your pool is maintained properly. For a man who knows each and every one of the algae out there, there's over 40,000. I've had to talk to him about it. It's a scintillating conversation. Tracy Corley knows exactly how to get your pool looking beautiful and ready to be used this summer. And again, the best part, he is their own site, answering your questions and telling you how he's maintaining your pool if you want to talk to him about it. 803-445-8109. Again, it's flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. It's actually more affordable to use Corley Pool Solutions than it is for you to try and maintain the pool yourself and go to the pool store. So call Corley Pool Solutions today. 803-445-8109. That's Corley Pool Solutions. 7:41 on a beautiful Monday morning, a national championship Monday morning for South Carolina fans. Dawn Staley and the women claiming their second national championship last night, and we have obviously talked a lot about that. Also talked a little bit about the men's Final Four this past weekend, Duke and North Carolina. Certainly a game to watch, and it was the end. Patrick, you didn't feel just a little sympathy for Mike Krzyzewski and the end of his career. That was it. He goes out, he walks out. I don't know his wife's name or forget her name. Walks out holding hands with her, and that's it. That's the end for Mike Krzyzewski. In the end, he could not beat North Carolina this year. He got him once in Chapel Hill, but he loses in Cameron Indoor, and he loses when it matters the most in the Final Four. No sympathy whatsoever for Krzyzewski?
No, not even the slightest. No, not remotely bad at all. I felt nothing but joy in that moment.
Your girlfriend wasn't appalled or offended by how you may have been celebrating. You didn't rip your shirt off and start high-fiving bar patrons.
We were actually with a couple of our work friends too that didn't really care. So I was actually just floating back and forth from downstairs area. There was a big contingent of UNC fans, so I would just hang out upstairs for a little bit, and then when things would get tense, I would walk downstairs and gauge the temperature of the UNC fans, and that was my night. It was electric. I would think that most sports bars outside of Durham would have been pretty similar, because it did feel like it was either Duke fans or anti-Duke people. Because I was not the only person cheering for UNC that wasn't a UNC fan. There were several of us there, and I did meet a couple people that were like, yeah, we also hate Coach K. So I don't know. I enjoyed everything about it.
I mean, outside of Duke fans being obviously wildly disappointed, I do wonder how many people out there took pleasure or enjoyed watching Krzyzewski again. It was, the party, the game ends, you could just see the face kind of a frustrated, angry head coach wandering off, into the limelight of us. This is it. The career is over. Duke's up, by the way, by 3 points at halftime. They're up 37-34, Patrick.
Yep.
And at halftime, it feels like it feels like Banchero is going to carry Duke in. They're going to be able to win this game. You're getting Trevor Keels is giving you production off the bench. It looks like Duke is going to roll and win this thing. And then once again, kind of like the game in Cameron, the second half did not go their way. North Carolina found their footing and just kind of mowed over Duke in the second half.
Yeah, and then Brady Manick late in the game missed 3 of 4 free throws, and I was like, oh, this is it. Of course. Brady Manick, who was the key to them beating Duke the first time in Cameron, he's been shooting a 3, but just 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Really, dude? Really? You're going to go 0 for 2 from the free throw line and then miss another one? Like, I was getting really nervous, but yeah, no, UNC just, I don't know, something about them. They just know how to close, because I was with you when UNC got the early lead and fouls, and they got in the bonus, or were should have been able to get in the bonus and should have been able to take it to Duke more. I was disappointed they weren't able to capitalize on that, and I just thought, I thought Duke was going to end up cruising in the second half. Paolo was going to take over, or somebody was going to get in foul trouble for UNC, and that was just going to be it. And it was going to be a slow death for UNC, but they just refused to go away. It kind of makes me like this team. I definitely want Kansas to win the national title, because I do not like UNC whatsoever. I just hated Duke that much more.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I mean, as far as feeling sympathy for Coach K, no, I feel absolutely none. For the game of basketball, I do think it's not going to be the same without him being a part of it. I mean, I've never experienced a college basketball without Coach K as the ultimate villain. So it's good to have people like that, because it's good for sport. I mean, the Carolina-Clemson rivalry wouldn't be the same if Dabo wasn't the coach. As long as I've been here, that's what I've known, and I've known him as that kind of villainous character for Clemson. And I don't know who Clemson fans point to at the Carolina side of things, but people like that make college sports good.
You're right. Going back, a couple people are hitting us up, and an anonymous texter points out Duke missing 6 free throws down the stretch. Another anonymous texter says Coach K losing was awesome. Loved it. Dan saying, see North Carolina crush Coach K in the final 4 was worth it for Eric Church. Yeah, Eric Church, we mentioned him probably thoroughly enjoying that.
Yeah, he was there. I saw pictures of him.
Okay, he was there. Another big stat from Saturday night, and this was something we kind of brought up. Now, look, it affects both teams. It's not just one or the other. They're both playing in the same arena on the same floor with the same sight lines. But Patrick, North Carolina shoots 10 of 26 from 3-point range. Duke 5 of 22. Those 15 points obviously massive when you talk about 3-point shooting in this ball game. Jeremy Roach, the point guard for Duke, 0 of 5 in the ball game. It really was just 2 of 11. It was a night where North Carolina made threes down the stretch, and then again Duke just couldn't put it together at the very end of the game. Couldn't put it together to make one last run, grab the lead, and maybe hold on.
Yeah, maybe that was just the youth thing, and all season until basically the tournament, it did feel like there was a lot of pressure on these young kids for Duke. It's pretty much all freshmen and sophomores on that team, and obviously they crumbled under the weight of that pressure in Cameron for the last go round, and they really did seem like they're putting it all together here. But it's impossible to prepare yourself for the just environment that we experienced on Saturday night. I mean, I was nervous just sitting at a table at a crowded bar, just watching them warm up. I was like, man, I could not imagine what would be going through my head, the butterflies I would have right now getting ready for a game like this. So, I mean, North Carolina has a little bit more experience, and they kind of played with nothing to lose. They were playing with house money. They've already spoiled the Coach K party once with all of his former players in the house, and now they just got to do it on an even bigger stage. So I'm not surprised that they were more ready for it than Duke was. I just think that's kind of what it came down to, was Duke's youth and inexperience kind of wilting under the pressure.
803-404-6100. You can be a part of the program. South Carolina did get a football commitment over the weekend. Corey Rutker, a transfer from Arkansas State, commits to South Carolina, or goes public with it, I should say. He'll have 3 years of eligibility remaining. We'll talk about that a little bit, the impact on the wide receiving room as the Gamecocks, again, pick up a commitment from Corey Rutker, a 6', 205-pound wide receiver from Arkansas State. We'll, again, get into a little bit of what that meant for South Carolina's wide receiving room when we come back. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Saving money on your monthly mortgage payment, that can be a lot of fun, especially when you start taking that money and applying it to like vacations or home improvements. And right now, people are doing that across the country with refinancing options that are still really, really great opportunities. Find out for yourself by calling Buford Lending and Benji Getsy today, 843-524-2404. You can visit them on the web, Buford.mortgage. Right now is the time. The interest rates, they're rising a little bit. They're not as low as they were, but it's still a great opportunity for you to save money, lock in a better interest rate, and put money toward maybe a family vacation this summer. Who knows? Maybe even a home improvement project that you've been thinking about. But if you're looking to do it, you need to shop your rate with Benji Getsy and Buford Lending. He will get you a lower rate, which will give you more buying power. 843-524-2404. Again, you can visit them on the web, Buford.mortgage, and that phone number, 843-524-2404. Benji has over 25 years of experience, and he can help shop and lock your rate today. So don't wait. Call Buford Lending, 843-524-2404. Again, that's 843-524-2404. Let Benji Getsy be your broker. Call today for a free evaluation of your current mortgage situation and see what he can do for you. 843-524-2404. Coming up in about 10 minutes, Michael Boland with CBS Sports will join us. We will talk more about tonight's Kansas-North Carolina National Championship game. One other thing from this weekend that'll probably start to, I guess, come out. No real details. I haven't really talked to anybody, Patrick, but the Final Four, you typically have the coaches' conventions and everything that kind of takes place. I would think as this week goes on, we're going to hear more about Lamont Paris and the staff he's going to put together. Chattanooga hiring their new head coach at the end of last week, freeing up Tanner Bronson, the assistant that Lamont Paris had wanted to bring with him. So I'm assuming Tanner Bronson will be a part of Lamont Paris's staff. That'll be one guy. Then you're talking about then the other two own court coaches to go along with support staff and whatever. But just FYI on that, I would expect that we hear something on Lamont Paris's staff later in the week. Real quick to go back, we talked about it. South Carolina got a commitment over the weekend from Corey Rucker, Patrick, and it's hard to really hype this guy up, even though there's good college statistics. It just feels like we've done that in the past to be let down a little bit during the season. You just got to have to take this for what it is.
You're taking a shot on a guy, but he's young. He has proven it at a level higher than the high school level. So, I mean, production in college is production in college, however you want to slice it. So you don't need him to come in and replicate his success at Arkansas State right away, but it's good to have another body that's a proven talent.
Yeah, it's again, we'll talk more about that. Coming up in about 10 minutes, Michael Boland will join us to talk Final Four and National Championship tonight, coming up at 8:30 this morning. I expect Debbie Antonelli to join us to talk more about this women's National Basketball Championship. South Carolina with their second one. No word just yet on Twitter when they will arrive home. I'm keeping an eye on it. We'll keep you updated. Hour 3 up next. The early game on 107.5 The Game. Yeah, correct. Craig, Rutgers. Corey Rucker has 3 years because the COVID year didn't count. So he technically has the COVID year too. Yeah. Good luck with us all trying to figure out the COVID and everything like that.
We also didn't mention, but Taquan Woodley going to UMass, Eric Stevenson, West Virginia. Who else? Anything else?
That's the only two right now. Yeah, I don't know if she can do all the stuff for the promo, so I'll just cut the promo real quick.
All right.
Bang it out. We got 2 people on the line, but we got Michael Boland coming up, so.
Go ahead. And get ready. You've got the keyword now. Yeah. After the open, you got about 20 seconds of this, and then that'll play.
Good. G-O-O-D. Good. Like, good gracious, last night was great. Good. G-O-O-D. Good. $8:01 on a beautiful Monday morning. Oh, winners yesterday. Just winners. My favorite winner yesterday was Denny Hamlin. That was just...
How cool would it have been if you actually watched the race and were a participant?
In defense, I watched more than you would believe. I'm in a little pick'em contest, different little pick'em contest.
There's money involved.
There was some money involved. $10. It's a little $10. Little just amongst friends, just little deal that we do, and nothing. Basically, you win. You buy everybody's like round of beverages. I had Christopher Bell too, and so for a while they were running 1-2, and I was like, well, is it worth winning? A couple dollars, but having to buy everybody's drinks, but Hamlin not winning, or would I rather Hamlin win and not worry about winning like $20?
Yeah, your ego wants
it was
Hamlin to win.
I was pulling more for Hamlin than I was for financial gain yesterday, so I could come in here. So Denny Hamlin wins, and while I don't have my NASCAR sheet in front of me, I'm pretty certain I'm now back in the lead. I'm pretty certain that
you are 24 for you, 21 for Reggie, and 17 for both me and for Carrie.
Order has been restored to our NASCAR Pick'em contest. We will talk more about that on Thursday with one Carrie Tharp. There was other actual winners last night. They were the women's basketball team for the University of South Carolina. We'll continue talking about that this morning. But let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Casey has waited patiently this morning to talk men's basketball. Casey, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
All right, what's going on with y'all? Not much. I know last week when I called up there, the Duke game was close. It could have. I'm not gonna say it could have went either way, but I told you, we talked about how good North Carolina guards were playing at the moment, and South Carolina girls last night, man. I don't think I ever seen defense play like that in a long time during this tournament. And that's a good thing for the shout out to the Gamecock girls. And I think Coach K's career is in a bad taste, losing to North Carolina in the Cameron Indoor Stadium, then losing to North Carolina in the Final Four. Therefore, he's not finished with basketball. I predict him to be the LA Lakers coach next year with him and LeBron James. Y'all have a good day.
All right. That's a take. That is a new take that we have not heard yet.
Well, I mean, that does feel like a way to like continue or not go out completely a loser.
I don't hate that at all. But oh man, I would hate Coach K so much more though if he did that. Oh, that'd be incredible.
803-404-6100. We'll get out to Michael Bolin here with CBS Sports in just a minute to talk about tonight's game. Patrick, North Carolina, again, a 4 to 4.5 point underdog against Kansas. The over-under 151.5 to 152 is how everything is set for as of now. I believe last night, by the way, I didn't look after about 1 or 2 o'clock, but I believe at about 1 or 2 o'clock yesterday, South Carolina was a 4 to 4.5 point favorite over Connecticut last night. I believe that is correct. I think that's what I saw yesterday around lunchtime. But tonight, Kansas a 4.5 point favorite. And real quick, and we'll get out to Michael Bolin here in just a minute. But you're of the opinion North Carolina kind of. I don't want to say that Saturday night meant more. I don't think that'd be inaccurate. You're playing for a national championship, but there is an emotional letdown that could actually come following that kind of victory.
Yeah, and an emotional letdown and then a physical letdown because they were challenged more than Kansas was, and Kansas went deeper, and Bacot is going to be banged up. So, yeah, I'm just all about everything's trending towards Kansas winning it, and people aren't going to talk about it as much as Duke losing. So, I'm with you on that.
All right, let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Michael Bolin is waiting, and he joins us this morning as we get you ready for the national championship tonight. Michael, welcome back in, and tell you what, you get a game of blue bloods tonight. You get, well, 2 blue teams as well, North Carolina and Kansas. And let's just go back and visit the weekend that was Saturday night. Your thoughts on the first set of Final Four games there, Villanova and Kansas, Michigan, North Carolina and Duke. Your thoughts on the Final Four this past weekend?
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me. Also, congratulations to the Lady Gamecocks for winning the national championship last night. But yeah, so going back to the men's Final Four games from Saturday, really it was unfortunate that Villanova came into that game shorthanded. In my opinion, if Justin Moore would have been available, I don't know if they'd have won the game, but I feel like it wouldn't have gotten off to the same kind of start that it did get off to. Ultimately, Kansas was just way too much for them to handle. David McCormick, obviously a huge game. Villanova just didn't have anybody in the paint that could match up with him. So that's one of the big things I'm excited about for tomorrow night is actually tonight. Now that we're early for me, but the McCormick Bacot matchup should be something I think is going to be really exciting to watch. But Villanova, they made their runs. They got it to within 6 points. But, after Kansas got out to that hot start that they did, I think they hit 7 of their first 10 threes. It was just too much of an uphill battle for them to come back from.
He's Michael Bolin joining us as he does occasionally to talk a little college basketball. It's certainly tonight a big one. And let's kind of look ahead. You get North Carolina. Let's just go back for a second and North Carolina as a whole. This run that they have been on, they were an 8 seed. It was an up and down year. They don't have much depth. But your take on the run that North Carolina has gone on, really going back to that win in Cameron Indoor to wrap up the regular season.
Yeah, I mean they've been hot. It's what you want this time of year to kind of catch fire like they have, and obviously, as I said, Armando Bacot in the middle has been huge for them at the center position. But they've really gotten a lot of great production out of their guards, R.J. Davis and Caleb Love. So those guys in particular, at this time of year, you're going to need good guard play to really advance in this tournament, and that's what they've given them, combined with a dominant big man. So, while it kind of took them and Hubert Davis kind of a while to put it all together this year, they're clicking at the right time, and it's got them, in a position to play for a national championship tonight.
On the flip side of that, Kansas, Patrick and I brought this up earlier as it pertains to Kansas. We talked all year about Baylor. We talked about Gonzaga. We occasionally talked about Auburn being a number 1 team. It felt like Kansas has always been floating around out there, but we've never really considered them a national championship type team. But where do you put Kansas in the overall hierarchy now as they go for championship number 4 tonight?
Well, really, honestly, this is probably the first year in a long time where I haven't had Kansas at least in the Final Four in the national championship in my bracket, and they typically let me down. So this year I had them losing earlier, and naturally now they're going to play for a national championship tonight. So, if you look at their roster, it's not the same type of team that you would have kind of figured, a Bill Self-led team would get to this stage with just the talent they have. Obviously, they're very talented. Ochai Agbaji has really played himself into being an NBA player. But, really what they have is, a lot of good players and not necessarily a lot of great players. I think obviously McCormick was dominant against Villanova. I don't know if he's going to have the exact same success tonight, even though he's, going against kind of a dinged up Bacot. He's obviously still got, the size and the skill and honestly the familiarity, with McCormick as they, kind of came up through the same AAU program in Virginia. They played against each other many, many times. So I think that aspect is going to be a little bit more difficult for them. But if you look at this Kansas team, they've really exceeded expectations, in my opinion. Obviously, they're a blue blood type of program. You always think they're going to kind of be in the mix, but this isn't the type of roster where you would look at it and say, oh, man, they've got all of these, lottery type pick type of players on their roster when they really don't. It's a different type of team that's self-put together. Really, Remy Martin has been fantastic for them throughout this tournament. He's going to need to have a big game tonight, in my opinion, if they want to get this done. But just looking at what Kansas has been able to do, how Bill Self has put this together, and the kind of path that they've taken to get to this point, it's very impressive. And I probably wouldn't have expected them to get to this point, but here we are. They're about 12 hours away from competing for a national championship.
It's Michael Boland joining us from CBS Sports. So that's a great kind of primer for the men's game, but let's rewind because you are a South Carolina graduate to last night. How did you consume the game last night, and just your overall takeaway from that? Was it relief? Was it excitement? And just number 2 for the Gamecocks. What do you think that means for Dawn of the program going forward?
Well, obviously, huge for them. Anytime you win a national championship in any sport, especially basketball, in my opinion, it's a big deal. And Dawn, she's the first one to knock off Gino Auriemma in a title game. He's 11-1 now, as opposed to the 11-0 he was heading into last night. I had to work, unfortunately, so I was only able to really get out and really watch and enjoy the second half of the game, as most alums did, I'm sure. But yeah, no, it was awesome to watch. They were a dominant program from start to finish this year. I've watched a ton of their games. Super impressed with the way Don led them throughout the season, the way Aaliyah Boston helped carry the team. Destiny Henderson, obviously she's someone that our Jack Maloney at CBS Sports has projected to go pretty high in our WNBA mock drafts. So it's just more power to them. Extremely proud, and to be an alum of a school that wins a national championship is always a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. So this obviously puts them at number 2. UConn's there at 11. Is this like a changing of the tides, do you believe? Obviously, Dawn's recruiting at a really high level. They're going to lose Destiny Henderson, but they're going to return quite a bit next year. Do you see this as the yearly expectation now going forward?
It should be. I mean, realistically, I think that it was already at this point prior to this year. Obviously, they had the COVID year where they went into everything as I believe the unanimous number 1, but there was no tournament. So, that would have been another opportunity for them to have added something here. But the way that Don recruits and the way that, this program is set up, I think you have to kind of start expecting that level of success. And honestly, I'm pretty sure that's what she expects out of not only herself, but the program that she's built. So that kind of should be where we're at this point, in my opinion. And they've done everything they need to do to make that a feasible, situation to be in, which is kind of wild to think. But yeah, we're kind of at the top of the women's basketball game now with the UConns and the Stanfords and the other programs that are leading this game.
Yeah, just one behind for third all time in program national championships. They are. So just a flip to the men's side real quick. We haven't had you on since Lamont Paris was hired. Do you have any thoughts, and has your opinion changed on that hire at all since hearing the press conference and kind of seeing how he's navigated this first couple weeks?
Yeah, obviously, it's going to be a tough situation. It was going to be a tough situation for whoever ended up getting that job, to be quite honest. Obviously, we've seen the roster attrition that has come since Frank was let go and Lamont was hired. I've talked to a lot of people, some people who kind of run kind of top prospect elite camps up and down the Southeast. Basically, what I've gathered from what they've told me is that they think Lamont's going to be a good fit in South Carolina. He's won big, when he had his first head coaching opportunity at Chattanooga, obviously, which led him here. And he's got an impressive background. He's come from a good line of coaches that were able to kind of show him the way and put him on the path to be successful. And he's got the energy and the vision to kind of like take over where things are kind of needed at South Carolina right now. This is going to be I don't want to say a long rebuild, but it's going to be a rebuild no matter what. And, he's the type of fit that I think will be able to attack this the right way and be motivated to get the job done.
He's Michael Boland joining us from CBS Sports to talk a little bit about tonight. Obviously, we talked about last night and the current situation with South Carolina. Let's go back to tonight's game. And you look down the lineup. Give me one guy for North Carolina. Patrick and I kind of debated it. Armando Bacot, who had the ankle injury, maybe Caleb Love, who's playing exceptionally well right now, had the big game against Duke with 28 points. Give me the one guy for North Carolina on a limited roster, Michael, that has to have the monster game tonight for North Carolina to be in this thing in the final minute.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think Bacot's going to have, as good of a game as he can have on that bum ankle, going against McCormick. And you guys mentioned Caleb Love, who was fantastic against Duke. For me, I think it comes down to RJ Davis for North Carolina, to be quite honest. He's got to have a good game. He's got to play at the level that he's capable of playing of. He was really the guy that kind of got them going in that Duke game before everyone else kind of started really catching fire on their own. And he has to play at a high level. The point guard is essentially the most important position on the floor, especially in a game of this magnitude where you're going to need the person who has the ball in their hands to really make the right decisions and put the rest of his teammates in a position to be successful. So I really believe that RJ Davis has a huge game tonight if North Carolina is going to pull this out.
And on the flip side of that, you look at that Kansas roster again, really not much of a bench. They had 5 guys the other day that really played 20 or that played 29 minutes or more. Remy Martin came off the bench and played 21. So it's basically a 6-man rotation for them. So you've got 6 guys to choose from. Who for Kansas do you spotlight tonight and say that's the guy that has to step up and have a big game?
Yeah, I mean, and as you mentioned, Remy Martin has been huge for Kansas for a lot of this run. And as we mentioned before, McCormick was fantastic in their game against Villanova. If I was going to pick a different player for Kansas that really wouldn't need to step up, it would be Christian Braun. And he made some big shots in the end of that Villanova game when they were the Wildcats are kind of making their run there to kind of put them away. If he can step up and if he can play at that next level that we kind of saw that he was capable of, at least in that stretch towards the end of the Final Four game there, it'll put Kansas in a position where honestly it'll probably be a little bit too difficult for North Carolina to get the job done if they have that many people clicking on that level at the same time, because I expect Martin and McCormick to have big games on top of Ochai Agbaji, obviously, who was fantastic in the Final Four game. But you look at a guy like that and think they're going to contribute. But if Christian Braun can step up, I think it's going to be a big thing for Kansas.
So it sounds like, you're with us leaning on Kansas winning, but emotionally, are you pulling for the first year coach storyline and capping off the dream season and sticking it to your rivals for UNC? Or are you pulling for the just kind of funny visual of Mark Emmert having to hand over the championship trophy to a Bill Self who has been embroiled in controversy and investigations for the last year?
Yeah, as funny as that scenario would be, and it's something that honestly I've seen a lot of people bring up in the last few days, which I hadn't even thought of until then. I one of my old high school teammates played at North Carolina, so in this situation, I'm gonna be pulling for the Tar Heels just because of him.
Who'd you grow up a fan of? Who was your number one college team growing up?
It was weird. Basically between Maryland and Georgetown. I grew up in the DC area, followed both of those teams. As a kid, they never played each other, so it was kind of easy to actually follow both of those teams and, not have to go through that.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, which one do I need to really pull for here? But yeah, no, growing up, it was mainly those two teams, and then I've been lucky enough to have had friends of former teammates that have played for both programs. So, I just kind of try and support the people that support me.
Kevin Willard did make a point in his opening press conference in some of those interviews saying that he wants to reignite that game, and he's going to talk to Patrick Ewing and try and get that matchup scheduled.
Would love to see it. And honestly, I think Kevin Willard's going to do a great job in Maryland.
Before we let you out, I feel like you're leaning Kansas. I feel like that's the direction you want to go, but give us a pick and your final thoughts on tonight's game.
4.5, right? Is that
4.5? Yep, 4.5.
4.5. I think Kansas. I want North Carolina to win, but I think Kansas is going to be a little bit too much for them, to be quite honest. I would leave with the Jayhawks and Bill Self getting that that controversial championship trophy handed to him later tonight.
Michael, we appreciate you taking time out to join us this morning. Look forward to watching the game tonight, and certainly we'll catch up with you in the near future to get thoughts as we head into the offseason, which should be an interesting offseason for the University of South Carolina with a new basketball coach. We appreciate you taking time to join us this morning, though.
Hey, thank you guys so much. Always a pleasure.
Again, Michael Boland joining us from CBS Sports as we do get him to join us from time to time and adding a lot of insight. Obviously, and too, he's a South Carolina fan, which makes it even better. And you get to hear Patrick his take on the women's game last night. It's interesting to hear him talk about this game tonight and the short roster. I mean, you're going to see about 11 guys play in this game, significant minutes, 6 for Kansas, 5 for North Carolina. And Patrick, we talk about the depth of North Carolina. Can they withhold for one more game or the lack thereof of depth? It's not like Kansas is going into this game with a really deep bench. Again, basically 6 guys that played 20-plus minutes the other night, and the rest of them just hanging out watching the game, enjoying some water.
Yeah, it is kind of strange because we talked about in the Duke game, the margin for error for North Carolina is going to be so small, but that's kind of was the case for all of the Final Four teams. Like Villanova was obviously shortened up with the loss of Justin Morris, so they had zero room for her. Everyone had to play well. No one could get into foul trouble. It is kind of strange. There's not one of those teams of the Final Four that was going 8-9 deep and was just going to come at you hard the entire time. They're all kind of similar because even Duke really only played, Trevor Keels and Theo John were the only guys that really come off the bench, and North Carolina got, I think, a grand total of 13 bench minutes, and the majority of that came because Armando Bacot was hurt. Like they wouldn't have even given Puff Johnson a full 9 minutes. He probably would have played like 5 or 6 minutes if Bacot was healthy the entire time. So it is a little bit strange, and it's kind of unique teams. Duke is the team that we always expected. Villanova is kind of the deep disciplined team that we always expected, but it's not the Kansas team is not loaded with star power like usual, and really the UNC team isn't either. So I mean, it is interesting. I think it's a fairly good matchup, but just UNC coming in from the 8 line and just not being the UNC that you're used to, it's more of a team of destiny vibe rather than just looking on paper and saying, yeah, they're actually better than Kansas here or better than Kansas there.
We will continue to talk about that. We will see if we can connect with Debbie Antonelli as well and take your phone calls. I know somebody want to weigh in on North Carolina tonight. It's Bill Gunner, it's Shannon Jensen, and it's Patrick Pratt. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. It's that time of year where you can have one shining moment. Maybe that'd be tonight. Maybe that'd be in the driveway next week. Maybe it's throwing the football in a week and a half at South Carolina spring game and throwing a long touchdown pass during a tailgate. Whatever you're doing, you want to do it with the best of your health. And with QC Kinetics, if you've been experiencing joint pain or issues with muscles or tissues in your body and you're sore, you're thinking about surgery, you're having to take addictive pain medications, don't do it anymore. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. It's absolutely life-changing. You can get back to moving like you used to. And again, you can do it with no drugs, no surgery, and again, no downtime. So call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation, 803-281-6860. Now is the time of the year you should enjoy being outside, running around with the kids or the grandkids, being able to live the life you want to live. And with QC Kinetics, they can absolutely help you get back to having real, lasting pain relief by using highly concentrated, cutting-edge, natural, biologic treatments that restore and repair damaged joint tissue. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. Call them today. Free consultation. Maybe you just need a free second opinion. Whatever it is, call QC Kinetics. 803-281-6860. That's QC Kinetics. 8:33 on a Monday morning. And we've talked a lot about last night, South Carolina women's basketball claiming their second national championship with a victory over Connecticut. The first loss for Gino Auriemma in a national championship game. They fall to 11-1. We have talked a whole lot about that. And if you're just tuning in and you've missed any of it, like William and Chapin, who got very upset that we discussed NASCAR for about a minute and a half to open the 8 a.m. hour. William, you need a hug. Then you can go back and listen on Spotify, or you can go back and check out the YouTube channel and search 1075 The Game to join and be a part. Anything you've missed coming up, hopefully here in about a few minutes, we'll catch up with Debbie Antonelli as well. We've also talked about tonight's game, North Carolina and Kansas, and Chuck is up next on the Love Chevy phone lines. Let's get out to Chuck and get his thoughts on tonight's game, North Carolina and Kansas. Chuck, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, gentlemen. Doing great. I'm a big Tar Heel fan. Went to school in North Carolina in the early 70s and lived in Columbia for quite some time. So I pull for the Gamecocks and the Heels, and congratulations to Dawn Staley. I thought that was a fantastic game, and their defense is just unreal. But just want to mention that the job that Hubert Davis did. You got to keep in mind, North Carolina lost 3 players from last year's roster. Garrison Brooks, he went to the pros. Dawson Garcia, a 6'10" player from Marquette, had to leave for personal reasons and I think his last game was in January 22nd, and he was about 6'10", about 250, a great player. And they also lost Walter Kessler, who transferred to Auburn. So you take 3 players out of that lineup, and he still goes to the Final Four. That's a fantastic job. I don't know if Coach of the Year has been assigned yet, but Hubert Davis did a great job. I went to school when I was at North Carolina. Bobby Jones and Walter Davis played there. I think Walter's related to Hubert Davis. But it's just a fantastic job. I was tremendously impressed with the turnaround they made during the latter part of the season. But to lose that many players, those were 3 starters off that team from last year, and to go as far as they did, I thought was fantastic. But my hat's off to the Lady Gamecocks, and boy, wouldn't that be great to have 2 national champions about 3 hours apart with Carolina in their name.
I think, Chuck, and thank you for the phone call. It was pointed out earlier, Patrick, that the last time South Carolina won the national championship back in 2017 coincided with North Carolina winning their national championship that year. I think that was the win over Gonzaga. That was when Gonzaga beat South Carolina, and then North Carolina knocked off Gonzaga there in that game. So we'll see. We will see tonight, but certainly, Patrick, as far as culminating a great season, what you saw last night was the culmination of a great season for South Carolina, and the way things went for North Carolina. It was kind of an up and down season, but it's ended up with a very good finish to it.
Well, yeah, a lot of North Carolina fans in the middle of the season were saying that they made a mistake hiring Hubert Davis. He was not beloved the entire season, but by the way, the men's AP Coaches of the Year, or AP Coach of the Year, was Tommy Lloyd, and the Naismith Coach of the Year was Ed Cooley. So that award also has been decided. Just like Dawn and Kim Mulkey split the Naismith and the AP Coach of the Year on the women's side, it was Ed Cooley and Tommy Lloyd of Arizona.
Gotcha. Jen, let's listen to Aaliyah Boston last night as she talked about the journey that South Carolina went on here through the season. This is Aaliyah Boston following the game after being named, after picking up several awards, talking about the season that was. Joining us now to talk about that journey is Debbie Antonelli, who was covered this team very closely, is very familiar with this team. And Debbie, welcome in this morning. And that journey, it has been really an interesting 3-year ride for Aaliyah Boston and Dawn Staley. You had the really good team the COVID year. They don't get to play in the NCAA tournament. Last year, the heartbreaker to Stanford, but they They get it last night with the national championship, and your take on what Aaliyah just talked about with that journey.
Well, first of all, let me just tell you, what a night. What an incredible night in Minneapolis. It was so much fun, and I saw, just because there was so much joy on the faces of the players, and especially on Dawn, there was not even like a sign of relief. It was like, yeah, we were supposed to do this, and we did it. It was really exceptional to see championships or champions party like they partied last night.
Talk about, the performance of Destiny Henderson. We give, obviously, Aaliyah Boston, rightfully so, garners a lot of attention, but the Destiny Henderson show last night, 26 points. And Patrick and I talked about it at the beginning of the show. It seemed like every time Connecticut made a run or got close, it was Destiny Henderson who would step up and make that big shot. You've seen a lot of championship games. Grade her performance against some things you've seen in your lifetime in that game.
Well, this is my 26th Final Four. So I have called on Westwood One Radio for 26 straight years. I've called 11 or 10 of Gino's 11 championships. I've also called both the Dawns. And Destiny Henderson played like a champion last night. That's the best I've ever seen her play. It wasn't just the points. It was her defensive effort on Paige Bueckers. I mean, she used her speed and quickness. She got up underneath Paige. She forced her left. She did a wonderful job of minimizing her quality of her catch. It was absolutely fantastic, and you could tell by my voice I had a good time last night too.
I thought one of the most impressive things about Destiny too was just anytime UConn would start pressing or just trying to make South Carolina play fast, she was just so composed all the time. Was breaking presses single-handedly. Every time there was a double team, she would just calmly dribble out of it. Like, I guess that's just the senior leadership, but she was the star of the game last night, and you were calling it for Westwood One. Just what was the crowd like? It looked like there was a great South Carolina contingent, but maybe they were just the ones that stayed the latest. What was the crowd like last night?
The crowd was like a 5 points crowd post-game. That's what it was like. It was loud. There were many. They were engaged. They were excited. And, yeah, I mean, what UConn was doing is as the game wore on, they would shrink a little bit more into the paint. So, that's the way teams have beaten South Carolina. Missouri put 10 feet in the paint, and you'd force them to make some shots. But Destiny's speed was the difference on that end of the floor also, because there was one particular play in the fourth quarter where Paige Bueckers was guarding Destiny, and she tried to ice her in a ball screen, which means try to keep her on the same side of the floor. And when she did that and tried to ice her, she opened up just a seam, and Destiny went through the lane to her right hand over Aaliyah Edwards. And when you saw that, and then the next play she made was a defensive play for a layup, that was pretty much the game breaker, and that I think opened it up, because that went from what was a 6-point to an 11-point lead. And in the fourth quarter, and I thought that was just too much. I actually thought Destiny was the most outstanding player of the tournament.
She's Debbie Antonelli joining us, as we like to have her on from time to time to break down what she sees. And obviously last night she saw South Carolina claim its second national championship, under Dawn Staley. And all right, what next, Debbie? This team, they're going to return a lot of people on this team. Destiny Henderson is gone. Victoria Saxton's gone. But Aaliyah Boston's back, and you can take a big picture look at Louisville's got Haley Van Lith back. Connecticut's going to have Paige Bueckers back. I mean, the women's basketball is in a really good place. We talked about this with you a couple weeks ago when we had you on. But where does this South Carolina basketball team fit in the big picture landscape in 2023?
Well, first of all, these teams that were here, all four of them, were outstanding. Very good players, great coaches. I mean, a hard journey to get here. And I've been saying, you guys know this, I've said it all year, the product is the narrative. Our product in the women's game is outstanding right now. We have individual stars. We have great teams. The money and the resources that have been poured into the women's game, especially this year, delivering on the 50th anniversary of Title IX. For somebody like me, I couldn't be more proud of where we are. It's so exciting to watch. And, South Carolina look, the championship's not even 24 hours old. They're going to be picked number 1 next year. They're going to be expected to be back. This is going to be a team that returns minus Destiny, and We don't know what Victoria is doing yet, but if Victoria goes, they still have a bunch of young players. Now, the second quarter, Dawn played a lot of those freshmen, okay? And UConn came back. When she put her 5 starters back in, South Carolina pulled away. I think getting those young kids like right now is going to be good film in the summer for them to see what they did. Obviously, a player like Sanaya Rivers, who's one of the best players coming out of high school, is 1 for 31 from the 3-point line. I mean, if we're going to, pick out a few things, I mean, that's what's going to have to happen is they're going to have to become better shooters. I thought Zia Cook set the tone early. I thought she played really well coming off a game where she turned the ball over in the second half against Louisville. But this is a team, they're going to be picked to win it again. And what's next? It's probably some parade and definitely a Darius Rucker concert. That's what I'm thinking.
let me just mention real quick, Patrick, and then you can ask. They have put out now there will be a celebration at 2:30 this afternoon at Colonial Life Arena, according to the women's basketball Twitter account. It says celebrating last night was cool, but we still have a few fams back in Columbia we want to see. Come join us this afternoon, Colonial Life Arena main entrance, 2:30 today. So if you want to get out and welcome Dawn and the team home, you can do so at Colonial Life Arena, 2:30 today. You can make an appointment to do that. Go ahead, Patrick. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, kind of to this point of when you're at a level where whether it's Alabama football or UConn basketball of the last few decades, like what is the proper way? What would you say to fans, Debbie, that are like already looking ahead to next year and saying, all right, well, this was more of a relief than an excitement, because it's a credit to Dawn and the program. You go wire to wire number 1, and we're talking about would it have been a disappointment if they didn't win the championship? Like what is that just what it is when you're on top? And is that how did UConn celebrate for 11 championships, or was it always a relief and just wiping the sweat off your forehead saying, okay, thank goodness we won that one, on to the next one?
Well, first of all, do you guys even know Dawn Staley? I mean, she's going to be thinking about next year already. She's probably in the transfer portal looking for what she can get, what she needs. There's going to be some, obviously she's got a good recruiting class coming in. I don't know. I'm just being funny, but
right.
Yeah, she, I mean, well, look, UConn's won 11. Okay, 11. Dawn becomes one of a small handful of coaches that have won multiple. Okay, so I mean, look, she's going to be ready to figure out how to win the next one, number 3. But I will say this. I mean, here's another stat. Like in the last 22 years, only 2 other coaches have beaten Gino twice in the same year. That's Muffet and that's C. Vivian Stringer. So, I mean, Dawn is in rare air already. She just continues to add her name to other things. And I can tell you, the Naismith Trophy Awards that we did live here in Minneapolis, I was the MC. Dawn won the coach. Aaliyah won player and defensive player. There were probably 300 people, standing room only. And I know how strong the fan base is. I live in South Carolina. I watch what the local beat writers do and guys like you do in covering the team. It's absolutely amazing. And I know Dawn's going to be hungry for number 3.
Again, she's Debbie Antonelli joining us. A few more minutes. I know you were up late and you're getting up early this morning. You're still in Minnesota, and we appreciate you joining us early this morning, even earlier for you. So we won't keep you much longer, allow you to get back and get some rest. But again, you look back to this particular Final Four, and you just mentioned it, really good teams and some really good young players. Give me the big picture, not just South Carolina, but big picture, what we're looking for in this sport next year with so many good young players coming back. And as you mentioned, it's gaining popularity. It's getting bigger and bigger. The sport is growing. It's a really good time for women's college basketball. So what do you see next year across the board?
I see continuing climbing product that people are enjoying. And look, when you go to a game at South Carolina, it's a socially acceptable place to be. Like, it's cool. People think it's great. I'm going to the game. Are you going to the game? And they got to say, which game? You go to the men's or the women's game? That, to me, that's great. It's kind of like when I get to call a game. You call it a game tonight. You got a men's or a women's game? I mean, I think that's exceptional that people are thinking that way, because it's fun to be there. Their crowd is awesome. Look, their fans have expectations. They're knowledgeable. Dawn and her staff have done an unbelievable job with her group. I mean, I don't know if you guys were around on day one when Dawn first started, but Dawn, there weren't any fans. There wasn't the best product. It was a hard-working product. It wasn't glamorous. And now you're tailgating and there's traffic jams and there's lines in the arena. And it's just, to me, I'm just so enamored with how much South Carolina has jumped in to support Dawn Staley and to allow her program to experience what they're doing. Because she says it all the time. Even when you guys aren't around, when she's behind closed doors, when I see her in other aspects, it's always about the fans. And the fans have been fantastic, and the fans have helped them win this national championship. She always mentions them. And the first thing she said on the podium last night was about the role players, the ones that don't get to play as much. And I mean, this is look, she's a great leader. She's an incredible communicator. And I have no doubt that they'll be preseason number 1 next year and expected to be back.
She's Debbie Antonelli. Miss Antonelli, we look forward to having you. I got to get you back here in the near future. I'd be remiss if we didn't mention, we talked a little bit about it last time you were on, 24 hours of nothing but net with Debbie Antonelli, where you're going to shoot the free throws for 24 hours. Comes up on May 14th. So in the next few weeks, when you've got when you're a little more rested, I know you're probably still a little weary from last night, but we definitely want to get you back on and discuss. We discussed it last time, but it's something we definitely need to continue to promote. Help you with promoting it and do anything we can to be a part of it. So 24 hours, nothing but net. And again, if people want to go and donate, give us the website that they can go to and how people can be a part of it.
Well, guys, thank you so much for bringing it up. It's 24hoursnbn.com, and it is for Special Olympics. It's my free throw shooting marathon for 24 hours, and training starts tomorrow. I mean, I've been training, but serious training starts tomorrow.
Well, good.
So I'm excited. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
We will definitely get you back on in the coming weeks to devote a lot more time to that great event, that charity, and everything you do for them. Get some rest. Come on back to the state. It's getting warmer here. I understand the weather up there has been maybe too hot for you. So come on back where it's nice here in Columbia. We'll catch up with you in the next few weeks.
Thank you, guys. I will just tell you this. When I left the arena last night, on one side it was freezing rain and sleet. On the other side it was snow. So we're all ready to come back to South Carolina. And I can't wait to get back to the low country.
Look forward to seeing you back. Travel safely, and we look forward to catching up soon. Debbie Antonelli there joining us with ESPN.com. We will wrap up the program when we return. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game. I tell you what, nights like last night, nights like tonight, it's why I need great nights of sleep. When you're going to bed that late, you got to have a great night of sleep, especially get up into a sports talk radio show. Sleep Number bed, it allows me to do that. Put the Sleep Number setting on 60 and bumped it up a couple notches there. Put it on 60 and have gotten some great nights of sleep. And you may be asking, why choose proven quality sleep from Sleep Number? Because every great day starts the night before. Right now, save up to $800 on select Sleep Number 360 smart beds plus free premium delivery when you add a base, but this deal ends today. So go ahead, get to a Sleep Number store and make the switch. There's one in Irmo on Harbison Boulevard across from Buffalo Wild Wings. The other in Columbia, 2 Notch Road across from Sand Hills Mall. You can visit them on the web, sleepnumber.com. Again, save up to $800 on select Sleep Number 360 smart beds plus free premium delivery when you add a base. But the deal ends today. Make the switch to Sleep Number today and find out what a great night of sleep is truly like. Big thank you there to Debbie Antonelli for joining us in the previous segment. Again, anything you've missed this morning, you can go and check out. Jen has gotten us on Spotify. Just search The Early Game, 107.5 The Game, and you can find us and listen to anything that you have missed, such as Michael Bolin. You can catch any of Debbie Antonelli's interview. And, of course, you can go back and hear earlier segments. Tonight, Kansas, North Carolina, Patrick. What do you got?
I'm going Kansas comfortably. I'll say North Carolina closes in late, but never really makes it competitive. Kansas wins by 7.
7. Okay. Yeah, kind of be a surprise if Kansas. I'll take Kansas to cover. I'm with you. Maybe the game not worth watching all the way to the end. We can get an early night of sleep. So we will do that. We'll be back to talk about it all tomorrow. Again, a reminder, you can get to Colonial Life Arena today, 2:30, to welcome home your South Carolina national champions of women's basketball. 2:30 today, Colonial Life Arena. We will be back tomorrow. It's the Early Game, 107.5 The Game.
All right.
Back to feel your best. As South Carolina's
All right.
preferred orthopedic.
Good deal.
All right, everybody. Have a fun rest of the day.
That's right. I'm going to start getting packing. So see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.